Now, when you are marketing your business and wanting to get the message out there, you have an option of going direct. You can go on TV, you can go on radio, as in the olden days, or you can use digital marketing online that people can see and hear you on their phone or on their laptop or PC, giving them the solution that they want. So then the question becomes, how do you package your message, your solution, to the consumer that you want to reach? You have a specific person that you want to sell your product or service to, and that person speaks a certain language. They speak a certain language. They have certain likes and dislikes. They like comedy. They like drama. They like certain music. There's a way that they like to consume information. Some people like to read. Some people like to listen to podcasts. Some people like to only talk to people they know. They don't trust anything any ad says. They only want a word of mouth referral. So your message, your solution has to be packaged so they can hear it. And this is often what new businesses struggle with, is how do I package what I have so that other people can take it in, realize that's the solution they want, and contact you for a sale or buy online or pick up the phone and tell you what they want, what they need. You can quote them. The process continues. So it's about how is it packaged? Now, when ChatGPT and AI started taking over search for a lot of people, it became much more important for you to package your solution in a way that a normal person can understand. So you need to work within the system that you want to target. Now, online, like I said, that's becoming more and more AI driven. So it's becoming more and more human, actually, because the AI wants to give you, the customer, a solution that will help you, meaning you'll use it more, so you'll stay on the platform. If they give it to you in technical language and jargon that you don't understand, you're going to leave. You're not going to trust their opinion. But if it gives it to you in a way that you can understand, you're going to keep using it. So that's how they grow their market share. That's why it's better than Google for a lot of people. And that's why you need to think about how is your solution packaged and communicated to the person you want to reach. Is it a rich person? Is it a left-handed person? Is it a person in another country? Is it a person with specific need? Is it immediate? Is it urgent? Is it 2 years from now? Is it a car that they want? So it really depends on what you are offering and how that connects with the need and the solution that the other person wants. So looking at that, it becomes very clear that you need to think about your product, obviously in the shoes of the consumer. And how can you articulate the benefits of what you have towards the person's problem that they want to solve? Now, if you start getting into digital marketing as such, it becomes much more specific and more nuanced, because now you're talking about your website, your social media, for instance, your face-to-face interactions with people, your system for collecting emails, how is your product or service delivered, how do you get feedback, things like that. And then it becomes tricky because these different channels and ways of interacting have different requirements. If you are talking on social media, for instance, you're going to have a different tone than if you were writing it out on your website or talking about it on a podcast or an article. So it becomes difficult to know how to communicate in the different channels, because the different channels have different requirements. For instance, on a website, you would have to contend with SEO principles. And then these become quite technical in terms of how is your heading structured, what kind of schema markup do you have, very technical sort of granular details that the average person can obviously now just find out about on AI or in an AI chat. But it becomes a list of requirements that you need. For instance, if you're writing an article, you would need certain things to be in place so that Google and ChatGPT can read your article, see if there's the usefulness that they want, and deliver it to the customer who is looking for an electrician or a hairdresser or a doctor or whatever. So it's really about taking your benefits, your offering, and not just applying it to how would the customer think about it, but how would the system, or if you want to call it the medium, think about it in between the customer. Because now, if you are thinking about marketing to, if you're a hairdresser and you want to market to the greater community, you obviously can't go around talking to everyone. In the beginning, you may have told people, for instance, I'm a photographer, I take photos of weddings, and you tell 10 people and someone says, oh yes, I have someone who needs a photographer, my cousin is getting married. So that's an interaction that's one-to-one. You can talk, you can also get feedback, you can see how people are interacting and responding to your message. But now, if you want to scale that beyond one-to-one conversation, if you want to reach more people, you can obviously use things like social media, paid ads, meta ads, but the communication needs to be quite different, because now you need to answer all the questions someone would have. You would need to answer all the questions someone would have without them speaking to you. So it becomes quite a big responsibility to make sure that all the questions are answered, you are able to articulate the solution. Someone can go onto your website, your social media platform, your channel, your online store, get the solution they want in the way they want, in a good enough way that they will pay for it. And this is where a lot of businesses also break down, is because they also don't see the asset value of a thing like a website or an article or a well-driven social media channel, because they think that a website is a static thing, so it just needs to be up and then left alone and then literally cobwebs, or they don't care about it, they don't have a website, or they have a social media channel but the content is focused on the features of the product, or the what they would think people would want to know, instead of trying to focus on what actually works. So each channel has different requirements and different ways of getting feedback. So let's talk about the way to find out how people are responding to your message. So for instance, on a website, you would look at the analytics, traffic, engagement, conversion, the way people are using your site. You can look even at things like a heat map that shows you which buttons are they pushing, where are they scrolling past, what are they reading and what are they not reading, so that when you look back at your marketing effort, you can see this worked, this didn't work. This is what a lot of companies and businesses don't do. They just assume it doesn't work, or they just don't do anything about it. But it's the only way to know is to actually measure it and get a report and a feedback to see what happened. I see a lot of businesses who just keep going in one direction with one type of content or one type of message, and they just keep going, and it's like they just tick the box every month. They don't really care. They don't really see any results. So they're very skeptical, but they're not using the system properly. They're not following the principles of plan, action, feedback. They just do in the hope that someone will just find them. Now, you can look at the biggest influencers or successful accounts. You'll see that they do a lot of research. They do a lot of experiments. There are accounts that do posts in the form of questions and see which questions get traction. Those questions get turned into longer form posts or articles or carousels, and the ones that get traction even more are turned into, for instance, an online course. So the bigger accounts, the bigger businesses, the bigger marketing budgets, they do a lot of research and feedback. Now, the problem for small business is they don't see it in the same way. They don't see it as necessary. They don't see it as something that they need to do. And this is why they blame it, or they look at it in skeptical. This is why they are skeptical about it, and why they don't see that it works. And then they just either leave it or they don't even start. They don't even try. So the idea has to be that you need to look at it in an ongoing fashion. So you have your assets, the website, for instance, the social channel, but those need to be managed in a way that you get feedback on what worked and what didn't work. You have to try different things because your customer either likes Facebook or Instagram. They like email newsletters or they like podcasts. How will you know how to engage with them if you don't try something and you don't do that experiment and you don't measure your results? And if you measure the results, you literally just do more of what works. It's a pretty simple process which nobody does. It's a complicated thing to look at from the outside, which is why it's daunting for most people. But when you actually find out about it and start using the tools, which are getting so much more user-friendly, and they already are compared to 5 years ago, the tools make it so much easier to actually just find out what is going on in terms of feedback. Because again, if you were talking to someone face to face, you would immediately feel, ooh, this isn't working. This person is not interested. Now you have a channel and a website that's one way. You put out some content or you make an effort to write an article. And now you don't go back and see, did I get any traffic? Did I get any hits? You put it out and you just leave it. And then you don't think about it and you say, oh, it doesn't work. But the way to do it is to continuously look at the results. So then, after that, it's also about what stage of the buyer's journey that the person is in that you're looking for. Because a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of businesses get confused about which channel to use for what phase of the buying journey. Something like the social media channel, Instagram or Facebook, that is used for a broad audience. When somebody's scrolling through a feed and they see something that stands out and it piques their interest, you're not going to convert someone to buying something that they've seen for the first time on Instagram in one advert or one carousel. So something like Instagram is to start the interest process, get the attention. Then they will start doing research, for instance, or finding out more and looking at a specific company for a solution. Then they start looking at, for instance, do you have an Instagram channel? How many followers do you have? What kind of content are you producing? Does the idea they have match with the content that they see? Because what is happening throughout the process is they are forming an opinion on you as a business, you as an entrepreneur, you as an owner, your staff, your product. And if you keep building the trust and the momentum of this is what we do, this is how we do it, this will solve your problem, they buy in a little bit more every time. If there's a discrepancy or there's a disconnect, you lose that momentum. You have to then work harder to get it back. So that's also why your messaging, your different touch points, your channels all have to align to build the trust and the momentum and the credibility that, yes, you can solve my problem. I'm going to use your service. I'm going to buy your product. And this is also where a lot of people get lost. They post one thing on one channel and do something else on another channel, and they don't really do it very well. This also brings me to another point that is very relevant or very topical. These days, I'm seeing that Google and, also ChatGPT and AI have a preference for more in-depth content because of the prevalence of AI low-quality content. So because of the prevalence of low-quality AI content, now authority, things like expertise, things like years of experience are becoming much more valuable. If you are able to say that you have 10 years experience in this industry, you've been doing this for 5 years, you've done 300 of this and 200 of that, Google will see you as an authority. This becomes more valuable because their idea, their whole reason for business is to serve the customer with the information they want at the right time, because then you'll use the service more. If you use a service like Google and it gives you an answer that you don't like, you're just going to go somewhere else. That's why AI is so good, because it gives you an overview, a nuanced answer instead of just 1, 2, 3 results. So if you are any kind of expert in your industry, you should be using that and making that part of your voice, making that part of your article, your content. You should use it and lean into it. The time and the day and the idea of people don't read, people don't pay attention, people just want short clips, that is not true anymore. People don't want boring. They don't want inaccurate. They don't want ineffective. They don't want things that don't solve their problems. Because there's so many options now, it's much easier to just choose the right one. So if you're going to waste my time, I don't need to listen to you. I don't need to subscribe to your newsletter. I don't need to listen to your video, because there's 5 other videos that can do the same thing. So in-depth information, in-depth knowledge is so valuable. And people still think, no, I need to be short and quick and fast, and nobody's going to read it and listen to it and scroll past it. The best examples are, there's still people who listen to long-form podcasts of 4 hours. A movie like Oppenheimer, 3 hours long, made $1 billion. Long-form content is not just long, it has to be engaging, it has to be in depth. Also, people in general are looking for more depth in their, consumption habits. Yes, there is a lot of scrolling where it's 2 seconds, 1 second attention, but people are actually looking for more in-depth conversation, engagement, opinion, perspective. That's why long-form podcasts are doing so well. They wouldn't be doing well if people were really having shorter attention spans. They just have shorter tolerance for, BS and uninteresting and unpopular and boring things and things that don't apply. So call it, they don't want inaccurate information. I'm looking for something specific. There's enough choice out there. If I don't find it, I'll go to the next one. So you can't be, you either have to be very experienced in your field and then use it, or you need to be very short but very succinct and very valuable. So that's why a platform like Twitter still does well, because you only follow the real experts, and they are able to condense their thoughts into a few lines. But when you talk to them, when you can read their book, for instance, doesn't mean they don't know what they're talking about. It just means that they're able to compress their ideas. So authority, experience, those things are becoming much more valuable. And if you have that experience, it's worth a lot more, and it's becoming more valuable. It's becoming a lot more valuable because of AI. And that is also another thing to mention, is that people think AI is just a replacement of everything that's digital. And what we're seeing now is it's becoming a better and better tool. It's not going to replace as much as we think. It's going to enhance a lot more than we think. And it's going to take away the lazy bottom, like the below average is just going to be consumed with AI. But the above average is becoming more valuable, and also people are valuing it more, in the way that they want more humanity. Some of the top influencers and top social media accounts are going back to stripped down visuals and unstudio-like performances to prove to people that it's really them. So it's becoming a thing of more human, less perfect, because if it looks too perfect, it's probably AI. That's what people are going to say, and more. So the point is, more human is better, more knowledge is better, more expertise is becoming more valuable, and an alignment in between the different channels that you have is becoming more crucial, because there is so much choice. If you are marketing on a digital platform and you're trying to scale your marketing, it's in your best interest to look at your message as a whole, look at how it solves the problem, how you can communicate it in one voice, one perspective, put out the same perspective on different platforms, and make it accessible to ChatGPT. Use plain language. The days of using lingo and trying to sound smart are over, because the people who are asking the questions, they don't have the expertise. So if you're trying to convince someone off the street that your product is better, how are you going to convince them? By using fancy words, or by telling them exactly how your product solves their problem?